first thing that the LICC Imagine project gave to us as a leadership team was a set of tools to work with. And all the material that we read and were introduced to initially just rang bells. This is exactly what we need to be hearing. It made sense. It wasn't rocket science, but it just helped us with a very, very neat framework to address the church on this issue of whole life discipleship. They were tools that had been tried and tested, and they were very easy to adapt and use locally. So that was the first thing. Then having the opportunity, either through a consultant coming to us or the weekends away that we've enjoyed, to bring some of the leadership team and to watch them get it and get energised and excited by it has been thrilling, really, so that you don't own a vision independently of the leadership team. The whole leadership team get it. And it's been exciting to see 2 or 3 years on that more and more people in the church are getting it. So it's the tool and the resources and the spiritual momentum that those have provided for us as a church.
I think the Imagine project has impacted on all those involved in leadership because we've become less inward looking and more outward looking. So instead of when we meet looking in at the church community and what we can do for the church community, we're looking out and saying what can our church community do for the wider community. So there's been a lot of more ideas of where people are and how we can use people where they are to share and to encourage and empower the community and where they're placed. And our meetings I feel are a lot more positive instead of looking at the problems within the church. We're looking at what the church can take out into the community. And therefore, over the last couple of years, we've got a credit union started, we've got a food bank started, we've got full-time children family worker. That's all come over the last I've been there 5 years, so over the last 4 or 5 years. But the Imagine project has really given that a boost and encourage people to see that mission isn't just the job of the minister.
The Imagine project impacts within the leadership, certainly my leadership, in the way that it asks these different questions of us. Originally, the mandate is very much how you care for people, how you support them in their life. And I think what Imagine has challenged me to do is ask it slightly different. How do I care in a way that brings out something bigger and better in their life with Christ? So how do they grow? Discipleship isn't just about caring for them in the way they were, but it's perhaps asking what God is longing for them in the future. How is God longing to bless them? How is God longing to allow the imagination for who they were created to be to grow?
Well, the Imagine project has been several things to me. I think it's been quite inspiring and it's been quite challenging. I think it's been inspiring in really making me think about how I behave as a minister and how that is seen and helps or hinders people in their belonging to church and in their discipleship. I think it's so easy for someone who works in the church all the time, like I do, to become so focused on the church, and in our context quite a large church, so that my big issues are making sure everything's working all right and that programs are working and that offices are filled, all that kind of thing. And it's important, all of that. But the danger is that becomes not just my focus in my head, but my focus in my ministry. And I think that's a huge danger. And I think I probably was always aware it was a danger, but I think the Imagine project has helped me to think I simply have to make sure that whenever I can, my ministry is about where people in my church are at and how I can support them and not worry too much about church.
When I say spiritual momentum, I suppose it's both the theology, if you like, that people are engaging with. What does it mean to be a Christian in the workplace? What is my front line? Where do I spend most of my time? How do I ensure that what I'm reading in the Bible or my small group activity or my worship on a Sunday is impacting. So it's partly a momentum from within the leadership team that we need to attend to this stuff and we need to do it well. We need to be providing small groups, material online. We need to be providing messages and worship on a Sunday that will make that happen. Things like This Time Tomorrow are helpful in all of that. But also I think the spiritual momentum happens when individuals realise that they have to take some responsibility for that themselves. And there's a momentum growing in that, I think. I am responsible for my own spiritual development. I must be in a small group. I must read my Bible, not because it's just a discipline, but because it's going to help make sense of whole life discipleship in the home and in the workplace. I think that's what I mean by spiritual momentum.
As part of the Imagine project, I began to value things in ministry that were often put on the back burner. So for a minister, you go through the list of people who are not so well, and you would prioritise visits and time and expression of ministry amongst them. And that is important. I'm not denying that I still don't see that as a priority. But also to look at people who are moving through life changes, who are facing opportunities, who perhaps are newly retired and have created a whole host of space or have moved jobs, and their priorities and their opportunities and their discipleship is going through a transitional period. And ask myself as their minister, so what can I offer? What can I ask? What can I facilitate within their life that allows them to grow into this new thing that God's offered them in their life, rather than simply looking at those who are hurting and comforting those people, to look forward and to say what is not yet seen and how do you try and open up that alongside others.
I know that it has changed me in terms of my focus and my drive, because being part of the Imagine project, God had already been stirring stuff in me through a mission-shaped ministry course and asking me the question 10, 12, 14 years into ministry, am I actually discipling people? Are people growing in their faith? Are people impacting the community in the way that they... And when those questions were posed, they were posed at a time when I really wasn't sure that we were doing any of that very well. So it has given me a sharper focus and drive in my ministry and how that plays itself out in the church.